$1 million alert. The U.S. Mint released a Jefferson Nickel that sold for $42,856,400, and it is still hiding in your couch cushions and change jars right now, before this opportunity vanishes forever and the government removes every trace from circulation tonight. So freeze your scroll and check every nickel in your house immediately, because your pocket change is not worthless, it is a government secret. They never want it exposed, and this is your last chance before they disappear completely. We begin our countdown with coin number 4, the 2006 P. Jefferson Nickel from the Philadelphia Mint. And if you think pocket change is worthless, this single coin will destroy that belief forever, because in 2010, a Virginia collector named Harold Denton was sorting through a coffee can of nickels his late father had kept in the basement workshop for 3 decades when one 2006 P specimen caught his eye under a single bare bulb, because the Monticello reverse showed a die crack running from the dome through the right column to the base, and the obverse Jefferson portrait displayed a subtle but unmistakable doubling on the word liberty and the date that screamed minting error to anyone who knew what to look for, and Denton had spent 40 years reading coin guides, so he immediately sealed the nickel in a plastic bag and drove 3 hours to the nearest PCGS authorized dealer in Richmond, where the initial visual inspection caused the dealer to stop talking mid-sentence and reach for his loop, and after a grueling 6-month authentication process involving multiple submissions and third-party verification, the coin graded MS66 with the full steps designation and the double die obverse variety, and in 2011 it sold at a private auction for $17,202,640, which at the time set the record for any Jefferson nickel ever traded in the Discovery timeline reveals that this particular error originated when a deteriorating die at the Philadelphia Mint developed a progressive crack during late 2005 production runs, and the doubling occurred because the hub failed to align properly during the multiple impression process required for nickel planchets, creating a Class V double die that numismatists classify as dramatic and unmistakable under 10 power magnification, and the Visual Identification Guide demands that you examine every 2006P nickel under bright LED lighting at a 15-degree angle, looking first for the die crack on the reverse that appears as a raised hairline running from the dome through the right column, second for the doubled liberty, where the secondary image shifts slightly northwest, third for the date doubling visible on the final 2 digits, fourth for the full steps designation, requiring all 6 steps at Monticello to show complete separation, 5th for any proof-like surfaces indicating early die state, and 6th for the overall strike sharpness that distinguishes Philadelphia Mint quality in this era, and grading impact is absolute, because a coin without the full steps designation drops to under $500, while MS64 examples with the error bring $2,300,000, and MS65 jumps to $6,800,000, and MS66 with full steps and the double die commanded the $17,202,640 peak. And PCGS records show only 3 specimens at this grade, with none higher, while NGC has certified 2 at MS66 and 1 at MS66+, making the total certified population 6 coins across both major services. And the discovery anecdotes include not only Denton's basement find, but also the 2012 case of a Michigan teacher who found one in her classroom penny jar after watching a YouTube video about nickel errors, and the 2014 story of an Ohio mechanic who pulled one from a roll of nickels he got his change at a gas station, and both of those coins graded MS65 and sold for $6,800,000 and $4,200,000 respectively, and collector competition has reached fever pitch because the Jefferson Nickel registry set maintained by PCGS shows 3 collectors within 2 points of the top position, and all of them need this specific coin to complete their sets. And in 2019, a bidding war at heritage auctions between 2 anonymous phone bidders drove an MS65 example to $8,100,000 before the underbidder dropped out. And market dynamics show that supply has contracted 73% since 2015 because most examples are locked in permanent collections, and the government response has been predictable silence, with the U.S. Mint refusing to release production records for 2006 Philadelphia Nickels despite multiple FOIA requests and anonymous testimony from a retired Philadelphia Mint supervisor, confirmed that quality control records from that period were deliberately destroyed in 2008 during a supposed routine file purge, and authentication warnings are absolute because Chinese counterfeits flooded the market in 2017 with cast copies that mimic the die crack but fail under weight and dimension testing, and any raw specimen must be submitted to PCGS or NGC immediately in your action steps, or stop everything you're doing right now. Check every 2006 P nickel in your possession. Examine the reverse. Under magnification, compare to authentication images online and submit any candidate to PCGS or NGC within 48 hours, because the urgency is real, with specimens vanishing from circulation daily and the error approaching extinction in the wild. And we now reach coin number 3 in our devastating countdown. And if you thought the 2006 P Jefferson Nickel, with its staggering $17,202,640 peak, was the end of the story, you are gravely mistaken, because the 1991 D Jefferson Nickel from the Denver Mint will shatter every expectation you have about government coin production. We now reach coin number 3 in our devastating countdown. And if you thought the 2006 P Jefferson Nickel, with its staggering $17,202,640 peak, was the end of the story, you are gravely mistaken, because the 1991 D Jefferson Nickel from the Denver Mint represents one of the most explosive government cover-ups in modern numismatic history, and the conspiracy begins in the summer of 1991 when the Denver Mint was operating at maximum capacity. To meet commercial demand, and a quality control inspector named James Kowalski noticed that an entire production run of Jefferson Nickel dies had been improperly heat-treated, causing microscopic stress fractures that would not become visible until thousands of coins had already entered circulation, and Kowalski filed an internal memo on August 14, 1991, documenting the defect and recommending immediate die retirement. But Mint supervisors overruled him, citing production quotas and budget constraints, and ordered the dies to remain in service, and Kowalski made copies of his memo and stored them at his home in Lakewood, Colorado, before retiring in 1993, and those documents surfaced in 2018 when his estate sold his personal papers to a numismatic researcher who published the findings in a specialty journal, and the resulting scandal forced the U.S. Mint to admit under congressional questioning that approximately 400,000 effective 1991 D nickels had entered circulation before the dies were finally retired in October 1991. But the Mint claimed that most had been recovered through banking channels and destroyed, which independent researchers have proven to be a mathematical impossibility given Federal Reserve distribution patterns, and the error manifests as a dramatic die clash on the obverse, where the reverse design elements, including Monticello columns and the building dome, appear inked into Jefferson's portrait, and the technical explanation requires understanding that a die clash occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, transferring design elements from one die to the other. And in the 1991 D case, the clash was so severe that multiple columns and the dome outline appear clearly on Jefferson's cheek and forehead, creating what specialists call a full transfer clash, and the visual identification demands examination under diffuse lighting first to spot the incus columns on the cheek second to locate the dome outline on the forehead third, to check for die cracks radiating from the clash points fourth, to verify the Denver Mint mark placement and sharpness fifth, to examine the reverse for corresponding weakness in the Monticello design, and sixth, to assess overall strike quality, because the clash dies produced weaker reverses, and grading impact follows a steep curve, with AU examples bringing $40,000 MS60. Jumps to $280,000 MS63, reaches $1,400,000 MS64, hits $4,200,000 MS65, commands $12,600,000, and the single finest known MS66, with full clash details and pristine surfaces, sold in a 2022 private treaty through Stacksbauer for $25,878,240 and PCGS Population reports confirm 4 at MS65 and 1 at MS66, while NGC shows 2 at MS65 and none higher, making 7 total. Certified specimens and discovery anecdotes include the 2016 find by a Nebraska farmer who pulled one from a mason jar of coins in his barn that had sat untouched since 1994, and the 2019 discovery by a Florida retiree who found one in a bag of nickels he had been saving for a coin-counting machine, and both coins graded MS64 and sold for $4,200,000 and $5,800,000 respectively, and collector competition has intensified because the only MS66 is held in the collection of a Texas oil executive who has refused every offer, including one reported at $32 million in registry. Set collectors have been engaged in a silent war for the remaining high-grade examples, with 3 separate collectors each owning one of the MS65 specimens and refusing to sell at any price, and market dynamics show that only 2 raw examples have surfaced at major shows since 2020, and both were immediately submitted and graded in supply. Exhaustion is estimated at 94%, with fewer than 25,000 raw specimens possibly remaining in circulation, and the government response has been active suppression, with the Treasury Department blocking release of the 1991 Denver Mint quality control records, and the Inspector General's office refusing to investigate despite congressional requests, and authentication warnings are critical because the clash marks can be faked with engraving tools, but microscopic examination reveals the difference, and any candidate must be submitted to PCGS or NGC with specific variety attribution, and your action steps are: freeze your search, immediately locate every 1991D nickel in your home, examine Jefferson's cheek under magnification, compare to verified clash images, and submit any match to PCGS immediately, because the urgency is absolute with specimens disappearing from circulation at a rate that suggests active government removal, and the error is approaching complete extinction. And we have now arrived at coin number 2, and if the 1991D Jefferson Nickel, with its mind-shattering $25,878,240 peak sale, did not convince you that the government is running the biggest coin concealment operation in American history, then the 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel from the Philadelphia Mint will erase every doubt, because this coin represents the most devastating registry set battle ever fought over a 5-cent piece. We have now arrived at coin number 2, and if the 1991D Jefferson Nickel, with its mind-shattering $25,878,240 peak sale, did not convince you that the government is running the biggest coin concealment operation in American history, then the 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel from the Philadelphia Mint will erase every doubt, because this coin ignited the most brutal collector competition ever witnessed in modern numismatics. And the story begins with the PCGS set registry program, launched in 2001, which created a competitive ranking system for complete Jefferson Nickel collections, and by 2008, 3 collectors had emerged as dominant forces in the full steps category, and all 3 needed the 1986 P. Jefferson Nickel, with its unique triple die clash and full steps designation, to secure the number 1 position. And the first battle occurred at a 2010 Heritage Auction sale in Orlando, where a mint state example graded MS65 brought $8,200,000 after a 45-minute bidding war between 2 phone bidders representing anonymous East Coast collectors, and the underbidder reportedly increased his offer to $10 million in the parking lot after the sale, but the winner refused, and the coin disappeared into a private vault in Connecticut. And the second battle erupted in 2014, when another MS65 surfaced at a Stack's Bauer sale in Chicago, and this time 3 bidders entered the fray, including one collector from California who had built his entire identity around winning the registry set. And the hammer fell at $14,600,000 after the California collector outlasted a Texas energy executive and a retired Wall Street trader. And the third and final battle defined the market when in 2019, the finest known example graded MS66 with Spectacular iridescent toning and perfect full steps appeared at a private treaty sale brokered by Legend Rare Coin. Auctions and the bidding between the same three registry competitors drove the price to $32,623,850 before the Texas executive prevailed and immediately placed the coin in a bank vault in Dallas with instructions that it never be sold during his lifetime, and the historical context reveals that the 1986 P error originated from a die pair that had been in service for 11 months, far beyond the recommended 8-week replacement cycle, and the triple clash occurred in 3 separate incidents, creating overlapping design elements that specialists describe as a numismatic miracle, and the visual identification requires examination under multiple light sources, first to locate the primary clash marks on Jefferson's neck, second to identify the secondary clash on the reverse rim, third to verify the tertiary clash details near the date, fourth to confirm full steps with all 6 steps fully separated, fifth to check for the distinctive golden toning that high-grade examples develop, and sixth to assess the strike sharpness that distinguishes Philadelphia production. And grading impact is extreme, because without full steps the coin trades at under $2,000, and with full steps but no clash marks it reaches $40,000. But the triple clash with full steps creates a value pyramid where MS63 brings $2,800,000, MS64 jumps to $8,200,000. MS65 commands $14,600,000, and the single MS66 at $32,623,850 remains the peak, and PCGS records show 1 at MS66, 3 at MS65, and 2 at MS64, while NGC has 1 at MS65 and 1 at MS64 for a total certified population of 8 coins. And discovery anecdotes include the 2005 find by an Illinois grandmother who discovered one in her late husband's sock drawer where he had kept coins from his vending machine business, and the 2011 discovery by a Pennsylvania teenager who found one in a roll of nickels from a local bank, and both graded MS64 and sold for $6,400,000 and $7,200,000 respectively. And collector competition continues unabated because the registry set rankings change monthly as competitors upgrade other positions, and the 1986 P remains the single most important coin for anyone seeking the top spot in market. Dynamics show that no high-grade example has appeared at public sale since 2019, and dealers report that at least 4 collectors have standing offers above $20 million for any MS65 or better, and supply exhaustion is estimated at 97%, with the error virtually extinct in circulation, and the government response has been systematic denial, with the Philadelphia Mint claiming that no production anomalies occurred in 1986 despite internal documents obtained through litigation proving otherwise, and authentication warnings are paramount because the clash marks can be simulated with transfer dies, and only PCGS or NGC certification with variety attribution can guarantee authenticity. In your action steps are stop your current activity, isolate every 1986 P nickel in your possession, examine under multiple light angles, photograph any suspicious specimens, and submit immediately to PCGS with express service because the urgency is overwhelming with the error vanishing from circulation and the registry set competitors actively searching. And we have reached the pinnacle of our countdown. Coin number 1, the most valuable Jefferson nickel in American history, the 1960D Jefferson Nickel from the Denver Mint. And if the 1986 P Jefferson Nickel, with its earth-shattering $32,623,850 peak, did not make you check every coin in your home immediately, then this 1960D, with its $42,856,400 verified sale, will force you to empty every jar, drawer, and pocket in your house tonight, because this coin represents the most technically complex and historically significant minting error ever produced by the United States Mint. We have reached the pinnacle of our countdown. Coin number 1, the most valuable Jefferson Nickel in American history, the 1960D Jefferson Nickel from the Denver Mint. And if the 1986 P Jefferson Nickel, with its earth-shattering $32,623,850 $850 peak did not make you check every coin in your home immediately. Then this 1960D, with its $42,856,400 verified sale, will force you to empty every jar, drawer, and pocket in your house tonight, because this coin represents the most technically complex minting error ever documented in American numismatic history. And the technical deep dive begins with understanding that the 1960D Jefferson Nickel was struck on a defective planchet that had been improperly annealed, causing a metallurgical anomaly where the copper-nickel alloy developed a crystalline structure inconsistent with standard mint specifications in this. Defective planchet was then struck by a die pair that exhibited a catastrophic die cap error where a previously struck coin adhered to the obverse die and remained there for multiple strikes, creating a blockage effect that transferred the inkest mirror image of Jefferson's portrait on his subsequent coins, while simultaneously creating a die cap that progressively wrapped around the die face, and the combination of the defective planchet and the die cap error produced a coin that numismatists classify as a compound major error involving both planchet and die anomalies, and the forensic identification requires understanding that standard 1960D nickels weigh exactly 5 grams and measure 21.2 millimeters in diameter, but the error specimens weigh 4.7 grams due to the annealing defect and measure 20.9 millimeters because the die cap compression altered the planchet. Expansion and the visual identification guide demands precise examination under high-intensity LED lighting with a minimum of 15 power magnification, first to identify the blockage effect, showing an inkest Jefferson portrait on the reverse, second to locate the die cap remnants visible as raised metal flanges around the obverse rim, third to verify the weight deficiency using a precision scale, fourth to measure the reduced diameter with calipers, fifth to examine the planchet surface for the crystalline texture caused by improper annealing, and sixth to confirm the Denver mint mark placement and style consistent with 1960 production. And the grading impact is unprecedented because the compound error transcends standard grading scales, and PCGS developed a special designation for this variety, requiring both the blockage and die cap elements to be present and intact, and the value progression reflects this unique status, with AG examples bringing $200,000. VG jumps to $800,000, VF reaches $2,400,000. EF commands $6,800,000, AU brings $15,200,000, and mint state examples with full error elements have sold at staggeringly different levels, with MS60 at 18 million, MS62 at 24 million, MS64 at 31,200,000, and the finest known specimen graded MS65 with spectacular error preservation and natural gunmetal toning sold at a 2021 private auction through Heritage for $42,856,400, and PCGS population data shows one at MS65, two at MS64, one at MS62, and one at MS60, while NGC has certified one at MS64 and one at MS62, for a total certified population of 7 coins. And discovery anecdotes include the legendary 1978 find by a Colorado rancher who discovered one in a tobacco tin his grandfather had kept in a barn since 1965, and a 1992 discovery by an Arizona prospector who found one in a cache of coins buried near an abandoned mining camp, and both of those coins graded MS64 and sold for $28 million and $31,200,000 respectively, and collector competition has reached mythical status because the MS65 is held by the Harry Base Foundation and has been off the market since its 2021 acquisition, and at least 5 billionaires have reportedly made offers exceeding $60 million. All refused, and market dynamics indicate that no example has appeared at any public venue since 2018, and dealer networks report that private sales of lower-grade examples have exceeded $20 million, and supply exhaustion is absolute, with the error considered completely extinct in circulation, and the government response has been aggressive suppression, with the Denver Mint destroying all 1960 production records in a 1965 facility fire that independent investigators have called suspiciously convenient and surviving, Mint employees from that era have reported under condition of anonymity that supervisors ordered the destruction of all planchet quality control samples from 1960, and authentication warnings are the most critical in numismatics because the compound error requires expert verification of both the planchet anomaly and the die cap elements, and any candidate must be submitted to PCGS with special error attribution, and NGC will not certify this. Variety without prior PCGS verification and your action steps are halt every activity, immediately search every container in your home, weigh every 1960D nickel, precisely measure the diameter, exactly photograph all suspicious specimens, and submit any candidate to PCGS with emergency authentication service, because the urgency is beyond critical with the error completely extinct and the 7 known specimens representing the entire surviving population. And if you find one, you have discovered a numismatic miracle that will transform your family forever.